this idea that your experience, your uniqueness, your specialness, even your progress and your maturity can actually be the very things that are holding you back from making a breakthrough. Me and Cameron have talked about this a little bit off call and obviously over the years. In Cameron, the people that he's worked with, it's mainly shown up in kind of like the specialness and the uniqueness. And I'm sure he'd be happy to talk about his own journey with that, maybe, you know. And also, we have a couple of friends that also have a bit of that too, or had a bit of that too. Whereas for me and the people that I work with, it was kind of like thinking, not that you were special or unique, but that your level of development or your maturity or the things you wanted in life are just so different from everyone else. So it's under the guise of, oh, it's being different because I'm X level or whatever. But actually, that was the thing that was holding me back from taking the next step forward. Is that kind of the way that you would put that problem that you're seeing with a lot of people, Cameron, or would you describe it a little bit differently?
Yeah, I think that's a great way of putting it. And there's so many different flavors that that can show up in, because it can
Yeah.
show up in a 3.5 intellectual thing that I'm
Yeah.
just so much better and smarter than people,
Yeah.
right? But I'm still creating that distance.
Or 3.0, would you
And
say? Right?
yeah, or even
Yeah.
3.0, yeah, that
Yeah.
too. But then it can also arise. I remember we had a small conversation about that green stage, orange stage split ego, but we're trying
Yeah.
to integrate both. But
Yeah.
almost the fact that there's conflict there
Yeah.
makes us feel a little bit special. It's like, oh, I'm almost
I'm wrestling with these
attached
big
to my
ideals.
suffering.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. For those of you that haven't watched that, that's the last podcast. We really recommend you go and take a look at that. It's on harmony, basically.
yeah,
But how we started talking about this and why we think it's useful to you guys while listening is because this is something which one of our big mentors, Kim Barter, talks about, which is a shadow hijacking actually experience or a big mature state, which can be harder if you don't have the awareness. Obviously, if you have a skilled facilitator working with you, or you yourself have been doing this for a long time, and you're able to have that mindfulness, I think is the right word, to actually see patterns and thoughts and mental processes arise as they come up. You're actually able to see that and have vision on it. If you don't have that, then it can actually be the thing which holds a lot of people back, right? So, I mean, even I have like from my clients, I'm thinking about people who are clearly have always been a bit more intelligent. Like I recently just had one client talk about how when he was around year three or year four, so like fourth grade or something, he started realizing that he was doing homework and work much quicker than everyone else. And obviously that snowballed into academic success and career success. So it can be take the guise of like your intelligence, like your brain power, that oh I can just outthink this, or maybe someone who's just smart, they just have to deal with these problems. That's like one way. Another one is somebody maybe who's gone through a bit of a tumultuous childhood. There's one specific person I'm thinking about right now, like really gone through a bit of like the ringer and still managed to get success, you know, in shape, works in corporate finance or corporate law, something like that, is able to be interested in these kind of topics as well as handle that really busy professional life. It can be like, oh yeah, I've gone through so much of these experiences. These experiences have actually shaped me so much, and they have, but there's a point where that has stopped, right? And it becomes, in this particular person's case, an overemphasis and analyzing whether this person is disrespecting them or where their value is, where if they're seen as powerful, like you know the type of the characters that we're kind of speaking about. That's the stories that are coming up for me right now. But what is your experience with that? You know, if you
yeah,
have that as a sounding board.
yeah. I mean, one thing that arises for me is more recently where sometimes I'll have clients who have an experience of success and similar to yours, success in an area that might require real intelligence.
Yeah,
And maybe they've been told that they're very intelligent, they're very smart.
yeah, that's a big one.
And then, yeah, and that's the thing is being even told that and even thinking that of yourself, it's not a problem at all.
No,
But sometimes the hijacking of a pattern, which for the person I'm thinking about right now is I can't be helped. It's I'm stuck. I can't be helped. Almost special because I can't be helped.
Yeah.
Right.
Can you go
And
deeper into that? I think people could
yeah,
maybe like, I'm special because I can't be helped. This is the specific thing that we're
yeah,
talking about. Because of this problem, this is what makes me special. And I get
yeah,
validation. Is that correct to say, or did you mean it in a different way?
yeah. That's but almost the specialness comes from the original quote unquote wound,
Yeah,
where in
cold.
this case I'm seeing someone and they maybe had this experience where they felt rejected or abandoned, whatever it may be. It may
Yeah,
not be bad. And then the mind is really intelligent and just gonna figure out a way to spin that so
yeah,
that it works for our ego and for our mind so we can continue being in the world. And it's like I'm just special.
hmm,
Right. And so the specialness isn't even the problem. It's just the fact that they use that as a coping strategy. But then that might spin into specialness, intelligence. I'm just so clever, right?
yeah,
And then very often they'll actually get in the way of their healing because these parts will develop. The shadow, right, will grow throughout 30, 40 years sometimes and increasing levels of development
hmm,
to a point where it's using very complex language to almost make it so hard to actually get into,
yeah,
but it can't be healed. I
yeah,
remember we have one person who we both genuinely appreciate and really wonderful human,
yeah,
and yet they use so much complexity and it actually gets in the way of them getting
yeah,
anything done
yeah,
and actually doing healing
yeah,
because the shadow hijacks the complexity.
yeah. Also, if I can just add, because we both know the same person that we're talking about, who's also super mature coach in and of themselves, like really been in this game for 10, 15 years. But the reason why also it's stuck is because it gives so much benefit as well. Like like what should
Yeah,
we'll call this person Dave, right?
yeah,
Like Dave, like clearly the way that the mind thinks and also the mind speaks as well is very mature. It gives him access to a lot of resources, and that can actually be also part of the problem because it's like, oh, but I can't get rid of this because then I have to get rid of my intellect. And it's got him to being able to be completely location independent, being able to live anywhere in the world, have clients come to him because obviously he's known as a
yeah,
guy that can kind of get results. Um, the reason why I talked about that is because it sparked something which I almost forgot about this topic, which is if you're listening to this and you're identifying with this problem, what we're saying is you don't have to give up that thing which you're getting benefit from. What we're doing is
yeah,
we're getting rid of the shadow that's hijacking it, right? So the same
yeah,
way that if a forest that we're in has a fungus that's growing there that's harmful, we don't have to burn the entire forest down. All we're doing is seeing where the fungus is coming from, how is it being sustained, and what acupuncture point we can do that just stops it from being produced and then letting it die away slowly, rather than coming in with a flamethrower and burning everything down, which is what
yeah,
sometimes, especially when we're in that shadow, is what it can sound like, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's such a great point because very often the hardest part of it is you spend time arguing up here
Yeah,
with all of these kind of tentacles of the problem
yeah,
that are trying to defend it of, oh, I'm just special, I'm just intelligent, I can't be healed because I just think too much, right? I just
yeah,
know too much, whatever it may be. And so it all just adds to all these reasons why I can't.
mhm,
But then very often when we just get to the core of it and we actually heal it, the mind's like, oh, I didn't need to defend that thing. I didn't need to
yeah,
defend the fungus
yeah,
to keep the tree.
yeah,
The tree's here anyway.
yeah,
The tree was here before the fungus hijacked it,
yeah,
and the tree will be off there after it.
yeah. So I know you said that there's a specific person that you were thinking about when we're talking about this topic, maybe you have some, obviously, because you're going through the process with this person, and I know it's going pretty well. Do you have any other kind of stories that, or any kind of maybe from your own personal story or other people that you've worked with that would kind of give a good insight about what was the changing point that led to this kind of breakthrough and realization?
Yeah. Well, actually, one thing about this same person that I think is worth mentioning
Hmm.
is when we were having some of the breakthroughs, and this is where he'd got to before, because he's done many, many different modalities with many, many different people and probably skilled practitioners.
Hmm.
And he just kept mentioning that this part's saying this, part's saying this part's saying this. And I know from when I was newer in this work that I probably would have then gone into the
Hmm.
what was the part saying, what was the part sharing,
Yeah.
and then we just get lost.
Hmm.
But then all I did, which is where we just come into more simplicity over the complexity,
Yeah.
just well, let's just hold compassion
Mm.
and love and support just for that, just for the part that's sharing. And
Yeah.
I'm hearing some beautiful positive intention. It sounds like it cares a lot about you. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it just wants to make sure this is done correctly. Yeah, that's pretty great, isn't it?
Yeah.
I wonder if we just have compassion for that
Yeah.
while we're noticing the light.
Yeah.
And that was just all that he needed to, oh, actually, I don't need to be going into this complexity now. There's light
Yeah.
already here. This part, it just cares for me, and maybe it uses complexity because it thinks it's going to keep me safe or whatever it may be. And I can just kind of have compassion for it. And so often I've noticed with this client, but with previous clients who had similar issues, especially around the complexity, it's coming into compassion, love, and support, and almost simplicity
Mm.
that seems to break it for them
Yeah.
because it takes them out of trying to figure everything out,
Yeah. That's a
trying
big
to
one.
like get to the thing, just being in that unconscious love and compassion
Hmm.
and just letting the part, yeah, that I genuinely appreciate that. That sounds good. Some amazing positive intentions, but let's just allow that to be in compassion right now.
Yeah.
Notice the light that's already there.
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, super mature choice because we've all been there, and I think it's where a lot of people are operating from when it comes to this kind of work. People obviously great intention, they want to get in, they want to fix things, but if you never
Mm.
take a look at the landscape and you're just going into the details of the garden, you can almost look at it like pruning a garden or pruning a forest or something like that. But if you never get a lay of the land and you can actually see that, wait, if I'm just getting lost in the woods here and I never take a step back, then I never know where I'm going, right? So yes, it's
Yeah.
simplicity, but the reason why Cameron's been able to come to that is because there's a real maturity in the work there. And when you were able to let the other person into that simplicity, that space of compassion, and help him look back on the shadow as a whole, what changed for him or her?
Yeah. So for this person, they were able to see that they could actually give the introject back.
Okay.
Whereas before, and when we're talking about introject, we're using evolution of shadow resolution terminology by Kim Barter.
Yeah.
And introject is just something we take on that's
Yeah.
not ours, right?
But
And whereas,
interjections are also from older therapeutic models as well, like Gestalt
yeah,
therapy, that
yeah,
kind of stuff. Yeah.
yeah. And so when before we'd been trying to give the introject away, all these parts would emerge about why not.
Mm.
And it would just become some intellectual battle or why
Yeah.
we should keep this or not keep it.
Yeah.
And just from this new place, he saw, well, actually, I can give some of it away, right?
Wow.
Almost the part that he wasn't defending. And that was enough. Like he gave the aspects that he felt he could give back, which was actually all he needed to give back,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then we just nurtured the light that arose. And it was just real playful joy it was a moment of seeing actually he was loved. Because
Wow.
part of the original thing was a false truth, which is often what we mean by an introject,
Hmm.
a false truth that he wasn't loved, that he wasn't cared for, which sometimes we can take around and we can
Wow.
see, oh, actually, they're doing loving things, but I'm experiencing it as I'm not experiencing the love, and I don't think they love me. But that
Wow.
wasn't even true. It was just what was taken on during a
Mm.
stressful scenario as a child.
Yeah.
So when that was seen, the new truth, it was that was the most powerful part is, oh, actually, I was loved.
Yeah.
I am loved. And
Wow.
seeing that, just it started off very somatic, you know, and that was both just how it arose and also just a little bit by design. Sometimes when someone's very intellectual, which can be really powerful,
Hmm.
but when we're healing, they can try and
Yeah.
get too involved. And so just kind of stepped out and just stayed with what was emerging somatically.
Yeah.
See that there was really light inside of him, see that this love was both in him, but also being given to him
Hmm.
genuinely.
Hmm.
And that was the truth that was emerging. And so it grew really, really strong somatically. And then a few more of those parts would arise. And it was wonderful. It was great because we could show him how to deal with that. It's like, well, what if we just give some compassion to those parts that are arising?
Hmm.
And then we just stay with the light that's here. And that seemed to click something of, oh, I don't have to go into every part that's afraid or fearful or is kind of coming up right now. I can hold compassion and include it, but can be with the light that's here. And so he was able to get such a beautiful breakthrough to the point where by the end of the session, the light was extremely strong. The sense of peace,
Hmm.
love, and playfulness was extremely strong.
Hmm.
That it then created a framework for how he can be in the coming weeks. And so we're going to see how that plays out. But
Yeah.
he was able to just not get sucked in to the parts for immersion, the intellectualization, the complexity, and just stay
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
That love was, which was the new truth that emerged.
And from your own experience of having had breakthroughs yourself on this and also other clients you worked with, are there some kind of like themes that come up around once that breakthrough becomes embodied, how that affects a person's life?
Yeah. So when it really becomes embodied, and it does depend the route we took to get there, what were the original symptoms, all this kind of thing. But in this case, it was a lot about relationships. And I've noticed with clients when we come through that route, what tends to happen is they get a mixture of two things. They get a massive increase in capacity to actually have genuine love
Mm.
very often,
Wow.
but also have the sovereignty that comes with it.
Okay. What do you
And,
mean by
and I
that?
have curious, yeah. So I think sometimes we can fall into one of these categories where we either want just sovereignty, we want our freedom,
Mm.
right? And we feel like getting into a relationship where we're in real love and
Yeah.
reciprocity is going to take away our sovereignty and freedom,
Yeah. Me and you had a bit of
right?
that, didn't we, in our journey?
We've definitely run through that, and that's a beautiful thing we might want to explore
Yeah.
and have curiosities to ask
Yeah.
you about.
If somebody
But
wants
then,
to explore that, then put it in the comments below and we'll do a whole topic
yeah,
on that. Yeah.
yeah, that's a great idea. And then we have the opposite where we get um, we just want the love so much, and we get so anxious about it that we can lose the sense of ourselves.
Yeah.
We can lose who we are, and we can feel that love is, you know,
All
running away
consuming.
from us,
Yeah.
or either both, all consuming or running away from us.
Yeah.
Right? We're just trying to, and we're trying to catch it.
Yeah.
Right? We're trying to
Like catching
which doesn't
water.
help when someone's when someone's like running away a little bit and you're trying to
Yeah,
catch them. It's like
yeah,
it usually makes it a little bit worse.
yeah.
Yet when someone comes into a more of a healthy profile, which often is what arises when we do it this way and we go and through this kind of shadow work and this light does emerge, and especially that knowing of, oh, I am loved, right? And just knowing that is a real truth. Not doing a meditation where I feel love, but just knowing that knowing is so different to the point where very often it generates that innate internal love that leads to a fullness of love where they're able to step into that reciprocity
Mm,
and really enjoy it without chasing the person,
hmm.
yet also feeling a deep sovereignty where they're able to be that individual self
Right.
within the reciprocity and they're not worried about losing their sovereignty. In
Mm,
fact, their sovereignty becomes a lot more innate instead of being attached to external things.
yeah.
So actually, they get an ability to be in even challenging situations where maybe you're in a relationship or even you have a family and you have more responsibility,
Hmm.
right? You have more things that can be, for lack of better words, constraining, but
Hmm.
it's not internalized in any way of losing sovereignty, where it
Mm,
may have been internalized that way before.
yeah.
And so you can actually be in more complex situations while maintaining just an innate sovereignty and a real fullness of love and reciprocity.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. And how does that, I mean, the first thing I'm thinking about there is how that affects a person's ability to relate and relationships, right? That's the first thing
Yeah.
that comes up. And I'm curious to get your thoughts on it. But what it sounds like to me is it means that people can actually be in relationships and friendships. Obviously, we're talking about all types of relationships here that are mutually
Yeah.
beneficial, where boundaries
Yeah.
aren't getting crossed automatically, right? Just by the nature of being able to have a full sovereignty whilst also have a full, robust love for somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm curious because you explained that perfectly.
Hmm.
And I'm wondering if you've had, or I know you've had experience with that
Yeah.
personally, but also with clients and what that looked like.
Yeah, I guess I'll start off with a story from me, and then there's a few people I've worked with that comes to mind. Um, if you guys are more interested in our story, the very first podcast that me and Cameron did together has a really good summary of that. But me and Cameron have been basically been attached to the hip for the last half decade or so, more or less, even though now we're kind
Yeah.
of on opposite ends of the world. So he's seen me through all the highs and lows. But there was a lot of freedom. Actually, what I'm feeling interesting to talk about, and what I think will be a really cool way for people to get this information, is I had it with having a weird relationship with the country that I was from and grew up with. So England, right?
Yeah.
Which Cameron, his cheeky smile suggests that this isn't the first time about him hearing about it. Because I was, right now I'm traveling around. I really like the more kind of nomadic kind of lifestyle. Very open to settling down, all that kind of stuff. But the relationship to England is every time I went back, I felt like I was somehow going to be trapped there. And that feeling, the reason why I'm putting it in this way, which is it seems a little bit abstract, like, oh, you can have that relationship with a country, which I'm assuming that most people are thinking, is because this is the way that a lot of people feel in relationships and in friendships sometimes. If they haven't got this part fully sorted out, they feel like they can get trapped in them, they're going to be stuck there, they're going to be the same person. If it's themes of stuckness, not being able to change and not feeling like I could actually be me, right? Because that's what we mean. Like, so that I would, on the surface, I had all this freedom. I was living in all these different places. But like Cameron just talked about, it was all based on the external. Like, it wasn't actual freedom because I didn't have that sovereignty in myself, which is why you have to do both. You have to get the external and the internal. Now, when it comes with clients, How it shows up most is in romantic relationships when I work with them. Would it be fair to say that's the same for you as well when you're, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's the most
yeah,
obvious version of it, I think.
yeah, the most obvious versions. That's why I added my example just to add a bit of breadth there to see how, it's all symbolism at the end of the day, how we make connections and
Yeah,
thing. And so when people come to work with me, it's usually around romantic relationships. They've either just broken up, like one client semi-recently was because of that. Another one who was also semi-recently, who I'm still working with, is just was in a relationship, which luckily now he's been able to leave and he's found another one which is much, much more mature for him. I'll put it like that. But for them, it's kind of like I'm not sure if this is actually is semi-related. I'm not sure if it's fully related, so let me know if I'm going off on the wrong track. They get stuck in it almost because they have golden projected all of these values onto the other person because of this.
yeah,
It's not the sovereignty necessarily, but it's that love, like all-consuming love. But it's not even
yeah,
all-consuming. It's like the way which they even are associated with love, right? So that enables them to get into relationships with people which, Cameron would look at from the outside and it would be kind of fairly obvious to know that this is not a good life partner.
yeah,
But then once they develop that relationship to love and showing love and expressing love, and they have that maturity, that's what enables people to be able to say no or choose somebody
mm,
else or move forward into the future. As for this sovereignty, sometimes it can be all or nothing. So as soon as there's something that's slightly going wrong, they're like, I'm going to break up, that kind of thing. So with the sovereign, and that's because when you're feeling free or sovereign in yourself is strong, it doesn't necessarily mean it's mature, right? Because what this means, and obviously if you have any questions, let me know, Cameron, is you can have a really strong sense of sovereignty, but a lot of the time that's actually because it's fragile, because it breaks super easily, right? Because it's
yeah,
strong, it breaks. And strong things they don't break, don't break, and then they break. So it's like
yeah.
one time all of a sudden it's just boom, it just breaks in half, basically. And
That's just one moment. I just
that's
have a
okay.
curiosity because that's such a really important thing, and I just wonder
Yeah.
if you have a quick example that might illustrate that because I think that's
Yeah.
not spoken about a lot.
Yeah. Well, actually, it was with somebody recently I spoke to, a client recently I'm working together, and kind of the honeymoon problem is over, or not the honeymoon problem, the honeymoon period is over, and that kind of pull of attraction has lessened quite a lot. That kind of like almost like craving, like when something's
Yeah.
new, it's exciting, all that kind of stimulation. And it's almost like, oh, does that mean I should break up? And then we were
Mm,
able to talk about it, go into some unconscious work, see what resources were coming up. And what we came to realize was no, it just means we're in a different, little bit different of a phase now. It doesn't mean the same way that when we move from phases in developmental level, when we first move into a different phase, sometimes the phase before can be we just kind of push it away. And sometimes it's necessary, right? Because otherwise we'll be stuck in that stage. And then we integrate the lessons of that, right? So now that this kind of craving and this, I don't want to say lust because that gives it the wrong kind of impression, but that kind of lust adjacent feeling is gone. What we realized is he was actually able to appreciate the deeper things in this other person, like the
mm,
subtle personalities that were coming up, which were obviously there before, but because when you're in that honeymoon period, there's so much stuff that's grabbing your attention. That softness that's still there, you don't get to shine a light onto as much. And once
yeah.
we are able to see that, we realize, oh yeah, you don't need to break up, right? We can see how this goes. Because listen, at the end of the day, we don't know how it's going to go. Maybe as the months go on, there's just no attraction for whatever reason. Like maybe you've just grown apart from it. Like it happens, right? This is the nature of relationships. They're complex adaptive, they're always being changed. It's an ecosystem such as much as anything else. Maybe that does happen. But right now we haven't got to snap into, yeah, let me just move on. you know? That's like
Yeah.
a strong independence. It takes a strong person to be able to do that. If you think about it, to be able to be like, well, this isn't working. I just going to be painful, but let's just get it over and done with. That's a strong personality, but it needs to be tempered with something deeper. That's what came up for me when you asked me that question. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes tons of sense. And I just have a curiosity of what that looks like on a holistic level when that's integrated more for that person, both in relationship and even beyond.
Yeah. Well, we're actually, when I've worked through similar things, not like the same content of that issue, but like similar structure of how the problem is, and also with other clients, it affects everything. Like it's not just relationships. Like that also affects how you make decisions. And we're making decisions all the time, every day. And if the nature of your decision making is to be more reactionary, to have that real inner strength where you can make hard decisions and be a closer, to say colloquially, right? If that's a great skill to have, but if it's not tempered with dropping back and looking at the breadth of the picture, looking at the wider picture and seeing not just what's happening now, but the process of what's been happening up until now, then you can make decisions that are much, much more informed. Like there's an old saying, which I can't remember where it comes from. I think it's an old like proverb from China, which I got from one of my mentors, James Tripp, which goes, careful where you're going, otherwise you'll end up where you're heading. Right? And what that means is if the way you're making decisions is very strong and like that, then where you'll end up going is a place where only that level can lift you to. Like just being
Mm.
strong, just being decisive, just being able to make hard decisions. But if there's no long-term thinking placed into that, which is what this is long-term thinking, being able to look at long-term trends naturally. If that's something which is not baked in to every decision that you're making, whether in relationships, work, whatever, then the place that you'll end up going, you won't have much control over. It could be good. Like being decisive gets you a lot of good things, but it could be you can be decisive and you can have long-term thinking at the same time. Now, I'm aware that we're kind of going off a little bit off topic from the original topic that we were speaking about. How did we get here? I'm interested because it's links.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I remember we started this topic and we were just really exploring how shadow can hijack complex
maturity.
thinking.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then we explored that example and got into that love and sovereignty, which has lots of richness there.
yeah,
But I also still have curiosity is if we take it back to the original question
yeah,
of your experience with shadow maybe hijacking complex
yeah.
mature levels of development, whether it's development or whether it's
Just intelligence.
intelligence,
Yeah.
and even just adding to the question because it kind of links quite well into what we are exploring.
Hmm.
Actually, shades when the shadow can hijack mature levels development into making it difficult, into almost that sensitive sovereignty,
Mm.
right? Where almost the sensitive sovereignty can hijack the maturity to the point where we
Yeah.
might use this as a reason for
To not
oh, I
change.
can't to not
Yeah.
change or to not be in a relationship as
Yeah.
well is what I'm more curious, kind of
Uh, I,
thinking about
I,
as well,
I
if you
think
know
I
what I
know what,
mean.
yeah, you're talking about. It's kind of like when the the problem is what makes you independent or free or different or something to be respected. Like, oh, like intelligent people like just can't understand relationships. Is it like something like that kind of thing?
Yeah, and also one of the things that we both went through a little bit, and then we had a great mentor who kind of shared his perspective of
Yeah.
thinking, oh, as we're maturing in developmental levels, how do we connect with people who maybe aren't obsessed with integral theory and this kind of
Yeah.
work?
Yeah.
How do we have real relationship with people who are vastly different and
Yeah.
maybe at different levels of development too?
Yeah. That was Kim Barter and Pierre de Souza, right? Is that who
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so with if you feel like you're relating to this problem, what I'm going to say here, I mean, I don't think anyone will get triggered from this. I think our audience is pretty mature and open, is
Mm,
almost always the problem that comes with this that has to be addressed is the subtle sense of superiority. And the reason that we hold on to that is because we actually feel inferior most of the time, right? I don't want to get into like pop psychology, like this is what it always means. Obviously, it doesn't always mean that. But from the general trends of the last dozens or so clients that I've worked with, sure it's the same with Cameron, it's almost always like that. The reason why we have to cling to an artificial superiority, it's the same reason why bullies bully other people. It's because they get bullied themselves, right? The same reason why the tough guy needs to act tough is because he was probably made at some point to feel like he wasn't that, or that he was given validation for being tough. Or the reason why another classic archetype is the hot girl who's a little bit bitchy, right? In
mm,
like maybe works in fashion or as a receptionist or something like that. Well, it's because she's probably gotten validation up until that point to act that way. And then, or she was made to feel unattractive and
yeah.
now there's been an overcompensation. It's the same thing if you're listening to this right now. If there's something like, oh, this is, I'm too deep, I'm too complex, I'm too mature, I'm too intelligent, I'm too unique, I'm too special, this is something that's different about me. So the main theme here is difference, like there's something different about me. First of all, yes, there is something different about you. There's something different about everyone, right? You have a beautiful uniqueness and specialness that we're not trying to push down at all. But if you're serious about really addressing the core issue here, it's because there's a meta issue, which is a clinging to that. And the reason why we cling to something is because we feel like we need it. And it's usually because there's a superiority. The reason why that sparked an idea for me is because obviously doing our work, we basically had an apprenticeship with Pierre de Souza, who is over at Unshakable by Pierre de Souza. I'm not sure how you would describe his work, like a mixture of shadow work, obviously hypnotherapy, all of this stuff, along with developmental levels. He's building his own communication model. Really, really kind of cool stuff. And then Kim Barter as well, talking about how to speak to people at all different stages and levels with real humility and real compassion. Why that sparked this coming up for me is because the reason why we couldn't do that at the beginning, or not that we couldn't do that, but it was hit or miss, is because obviously, we're young, we're learning about all this cool stuff, we're mentoring people who are like twice our age, sometimes even more than that, you know. You develop maybe a sense of validation around having a real mature way of thinking. And I can only speak for me, but obviously me and Cameron have had numerous chats about this over the course of the last decade or half decade or so, is that, oh wait, we can still have that coolness. Oh, this is really cool that you're able to do this. And you can celebrate that. Like it's not that's not something that's easy. But that sense of subtle superiority, like I'm better than or I'm different than, that's the thing which is irrelevant. You can still have all
Yeah,
of that cool specialness without having any of that, but I'm putting myself above. Doesn't even have to be like even putting yourself above is a little bit too crass in kinds of ways of thinking. I don't think we've ever actually believed that we were better than other people at all. It's
yeah,
more of like just putting yourself as something separate.
yeah, yeah. That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah. What's coming up for
Uh,
you?
It just reminds me of two great systems actually by both Kim, who we've just spoken about, and Pierre.
Yeah.
And what so Kim has this polarity idea of narcissism and nihilism, right?
Wow.
And not in a what do you call it? Not in a problematic way, right?
Hmm.
Or in I've completely blanked on what is called personality disorder way, but
Yeah.
just in a normal human way, we have these polarities of maybe a little bit of a narcissist in us and
Yeah.
a little bit of a nihilist, right? A nihilist that collapses, and just I can't do anything, and maybe the narcissist was like, I'm going to do it myself. I'm not going to listen to anyone, right?
Sounds
And that
familiar.
allowing them to come into harmony creates real wholeness.
Yeah.
And so that's his idea. But Pierre also has a beautiful system of horizontal,
Yeah.
which
I
I
really like
love.
that idea. Yeah.
Yeah, which has got there's many tones that are similar to this polarity, but his idea is of being horizontal with people, not above but not below.
Yeah.
And so these are their frameworks. But what I find with both of them is when I am feeling insecurity,
Mm.
there's often a noticing of the narcissist emerging as with trying to come up with reasons why we're better than,
Yeah.
right? Never level, never like, oh, we're we're on the same level, it's all good. Don't worry about it. It's always trying to be better than because it doesn't want to be worse than.
Yeah.
And you know,
That's the
I
real thing
think,
there because it doesn't want to be worse than.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's trying to pull itself up.
Yeah.
And then the nihilist kind of collapses often.
Yeah.
And so what I notice is whenever I've been in some case of superiority, it's often that might be coming into an intimidating situation. We
Mm.
both were in many ways of
Yeah.
being very young in an industry that people often don't get into until in their 40s into really integral development.
Yeah.
It's often people come into it at a later stage in life. And so it
Yeah.
can be a little bit daunting to be working with and often supporting and coaching
Yeah.
um, wise,
Successful
experienced, successful
people, some of
people
which
who,
have gone through a divorce or gone through some
yeah,
really big stuff. Yeah.
and you're like, well, I'm just on my like first or second relationship. I can't relate to the divorce,
Yeah.
but I'm still got to be here. And so the narcissists can often come in of like, oh, we're just like how developed we are. We're so cool. Don't worry. We don't need
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
collapse into nihilism. We can just come in with grandiosity about how great we are. And then
Yeah.
the same in relationship, in romantic relationships of I don't have to worry about being vulnerable and afraid
Mm.
and being a little bit sensitive to what if this doesn't work out and what if we break up and that sounds really sad and what does that mean about me? To, oh no, I'm just at a higher developmental level. So
Yeah.
if it ends, it's okay. I'll find someone who's more on my level, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the narcissist can just try, and it's almost like that seesaw
Mm.
where when you collapse into insecurity, the other part of you can come up to try and bring you up. But I'm sure you've probably noticed the same.
Yeah.
The more that insecurity seems to drop away, there's more of a security and less of a grandiosity.
Yeah.
Like the idea of grandiosity seems a little bit
It's so flimsy,
silly most
isn't
of the
it?
time.
Yeah.
You
It's
know?
so
Yeah,
flimsy to be grandiose, you know? And
yeah,
that's the big breakthrough when we both worked with clients. Obviously, back in the company we used to work with Pierre de Souza, Social Sage, me and Cameron used to work on the same clients, do slightly different things, and then our own businesses now. Like the last dozen or so people that, because almost everyone has had this, actually, now I think about it, in some kind of a way. It doesn't have to be globally, like they feel like this about everything, but maybe it can be certain, like someone's been really successful, but then they can't make relationships work. Or someone's been really
yeah,
successful, but they just can't ask for what they want. Or they just can't stand up to their family. Or they just can't pick a new career when they know they need to, right? All this kind of stuff. Almost everyone has had some kind of thing like this. And on the big thing, the big breakthrough that they all have is realizing that grandiosity is just silly. Like
yeah,
it's got no benefit, you know? And how you do that, to come back to what Cameron was talking about, to create those breakthroughs and looking back as reverse engineering it, what's happened with me, I'm sure it's what happened with Cameron, is you just take them out of their perspective with simplicity and compassion, recognize where it's coming from, and then just hold space. I don't like saying that because it's such a loaded word in like this. Everyone talks about holding space, but no one really At least I feel like there's not a great explanation about what that is. But you hold the space and the time to let them look and be back at that grandiosity. So you take them out of the grandiosity and you almost had them reflect back on it, just with compassion and
Yeah.
simplicity. And that by itself deconstructs it,
Yeah.
you know, because you can't hide from yourself.
Mm.
And grandiosity can come from a few things. It can come from all of them really, like projections. You could be golden projecting or dark projecting onto something or somebody. It can be a split ego state that felt insignificant one time and then has kind of hijacked this thing and is using it to feel good about itself. And we just have to give compassion and validation to ourselves, right? Or it can be an introjection where we feel it's not split off from us. We actually just genuinely feel like we were never good enough in X, Y, or Z, and this is an opportunity to prove that something different, and then we can let that go. But it comes with stepping out of almost the spotlight of consciousness. How you can talk about consciousness or the mind or awareness is it's just like a spotlight that just shines on things, but it's fairly wide, but it can't shine on everything. That's like a spotlight by definition doesn't shine on everything. So we're taking ourselves out of the spotlight, and that spotlight is still shining, and then we're looking at it from a different angle, and it
Yeah.
just widens, 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 and then the shadow can be given back. It can be the split can be integrated, or the projection can be re-owned. That's the kind of big pattern that I've seen when I've made breakthroughs around that. Is that similar to you?
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. And what I imagine with whatever shadow might be emerging that's creating that, I imagine when you're noticing the spotlight, there's usually an aspect of, oh, this is kind of unnecessary,
Yeah,
which I've noticed, where it's like that grandiosity was kind of
completely
unneeded for the thing
unnecessary.
that I actually wanted. Like it
Yeah,
actually harmed me in many ways.
yeah, yeah. That's the really funny
No.
one. When clients realize that, there's almost always a little bit of laughter, kind
Yeah.
of at themselves, but like a silly laughter, like not like they're making fun of
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah.
It's just like, wow, like even if I wanted that slightly narcissistic thing, which we're not using narcissism as a way to shame it at all, right? We all have narcissistic parts
Yeah.
in parts of us.
Yeah.
But even if I wanted to fulfill that want, like this is not the way to do that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And what's really interesting, I was just thinking about this, is who you tend to maybe look up to
Mm,
as this changes, right? Or who you maybe admire more, not even look up to, but
yeah.
admire more. And when I was in more grandiosity, or same with clients, and
Mm,
sure, probably your experience mirrors this. It's always people who are really often harsh. It's very overt and it's not subtle at all,
yeah.
right? And you
There's a
admire
real lack of
them.
subtlety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's often like more harsh, more conflict,
Mm,
all of this stuff, because that's seen as like necessary from a grandiose perspective.
yeah.
But then as more security seems to arise, I've noticed I'm just admiring a whole load of different people. And, one person that's come up for me more recently is, Jack Black, the actor.
Yeah,
I just
really.
find him so amazing to watch. He's like
Yeah.
so funny, but really, really kind to everyone he
Yeah.
speaks to,
Yeah.
and really got this enthusiastic curiosity
Yeah.
with everyone he speaks to. But he's fully expressive, and he's seems very secure in himself as well.
Yeah.
And so it's just really interesting noticing how the external, you start seeing it in such a different way when you're not creating that
Yeah.
internally.
Yeah. Yeah, there's someone on this call that used to really feel like he had to be in your face and not subtle at all, wasn't it? Who was that? Like
I don't
reminiscent
know.
of a certain presenter on this podcast. I can't think of
Somewhat any one of us.
it. Yeah, and what you realize, I mean, obviously speaking from experience, someone who used to struggle a bit with that, is that you get what gets unlocked as well. If you want to go back to relationships, right? When you unlock this kind of thing, this maybe subtle sense of superiority or validation we're getting from thinking that our problems are a little bit different than others is once that gets healed, you get access to all the people that have this crazy subtle strength and certainty and are the ones that are actually crushing it in whatever you want to do, you know?
Yeah.
Well, it's not to say like, listen, don't let anyone tell you there are definitely grandiose, narcissistic people out there that are doing very well in life, you know? We're not trying to say that's not the case.
Yeah.
But by and large, I would say probably about 80% of people who are doing very well are not like that. And
Especially,
please,
I was going to say, especially if we look at it holistically and we're not
yeah,
just measuring like one
money or
thing of
anything
like
like that.
profit,
Yeah, yeah,
including it. But if we're
yeah.
just measuring profit, we're going to get more of the grandiose. But
It
if we're
kind of,
measuring a wide landscape, we're going to get a completely different story.
exactly, yeah. And obviously, if you're just worried about profit, thanks for watching for this. But you probably it's
Yeah.
not the place
You're
for you.
probably in the
You-
wrong place.
You're probably in the
Yeah.
wrong place, but
Still including it though.
yeah,
Still
still
including it.
including it. That's why I said it, right? But yeah, holistically, you're not going to get any of those people. And when you start realizing that, those people just become more attracted to you because you're speaking the same language as them, you know? Like
Yeah.
that old thing, like real recognizes real. And then you can get so much more access to like deeper, more fulfilling relationships because the people that you're connecting with are deeper and more fulfilled as well. Like that's just how it kind of works.
Yeah.
That's how the external works with it too. Remember, internal and external, there's not really a dividing line. We divide it because it's functional, at least for now. But really it just is one thing or the other. It's like the tide coming in. Tide coming in and tide coming out is still just the tide. That's how we can talk about internal and external. And for me, that was really cool, like to see that. And to see that there's actually
Yeah.
way more strength in that too. That's the other thing. Like it's way stronger,
Yeah.
because you're not worried about being seen as fragile or seen as vulnerable or being exploited, because that's something which you've integrated, but it's not something that you're
Yeah.
obsessing over. Whenever you're
Yeah.
obsessing over something like, oh, I'm just so special, oh, I'm just so strong, I'm just so this,
Mm.
I'm just so that, that is a weakness, a vulnerability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's such a great thing to notice, both specialness and the strength,
Yeah.
that when that's properly integrated, I'm sure it's the same for you, and I want to get your perspective. You tend to see that in everyone anyway, or not even in everyone anyway. I know that that's more for the specialness.
Mm.
Like I noticed when I was dropping away some of the constructs around specialness, I just started to notice like, wow, people are special already.
Yeah.
Like they're just unique, and you get a real awe when
Truly
you're seeing
everyone,
that.
even if they're
Yeah,
objectively boring, and they haven't
yeah,
and they've just lived a conventional life. There's some things that are just so like they're just such a unique person, And obviously, who are
yeah,
we to judge? People can look at us and they probably think the same way, right? But like from
yeah,
your constructs, if you objectively from your constructs find them a person boring, it doesn't matter because you can just see the uniqueness and specialness in them.
yeah. And then I think for y- I have a curiosity for you more on the strength one,
Yeah,
because I know that's more of a personal journey that you had. I also had it,
yeah,
but
yeah.
to a different degree. And so I'm wondering if you noticed that looking outside, seeing more of strength in people.
Yeah, 100%. Like you just see like when your whole framework of reality is based on who can fight the best, and then obviously me and Cameron, we came a bit from like a more, how would you call it? I mean, let's just call it how it was, a bit more of a pickup background, right? We graduated pretty
Mm,
fast from that. And then you have all of the toxic stuff around being a man and all that kind of stuff. Not saying
mm,
being a man is toxic. Let's definitely get that out there. Masculinity is amazing, right? But just the kind of ways that it was taught or kind of impressed upon you was maybe not didn't have the most breadth, let's put it like that. Then it gives you a very narrow perspective of what strength is. But then as soon as you open that up, first of all, you have access to so much more strength. So you feel much more strong and much more empowered, right? And
yeah,
then when you see it in other people, you actually feel like you can rely on other people a lot more, which is
Mm,
I'm kind of surprising myself as I say that because that's the first time that I verbalized that thought, which then means that if you have a community outside that you can rely on, you feel more strong as well intrinsically. So you feel more intrinsically strong, but then the people that you're around also make you feel stronger at the same time. So it just gets
yeah,
you, again, to speak to what we were just talking about, it gets you your ego want anyway, just much, much more effectively. Like my ego want was to be strong. Now I just have it met in a much more holistic, deeper, and stronger way,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. Much less brittle, I
Yeah,
imagine.
way less brittle. Same with your specialness, right?
Yeah. I mean, because think of how fragile it is when specialness is linked to I must be some unique entrepreneur who, I don't know, also plays guitar and surfs and is really good at everything. Like that's really fragile. Like
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
be there very much if it's tied to those things. And I imagine, you can become an incredible jiu-jitsu athlete,
yeah.
but you're also fighting incredible jiu-jitsu athletes.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so that tone of strongness, if it's tied to that, is going to be tough to
And it's
keep.
inherently anicca. So anicca is the Pali word for impermanence, which is what we use it because of our education with Sister Kama. Again, if you want to hear a bit more about our backstory, then the first podcast is probably what you're looking for. But that thing is like even more inherently anicca. Like just to be like your example is such a Cameron thing, by the way, a few years ago to say. If you knew Cameron from a few years ago, you'll probably be laughing at that. But just to be good at everything, like what does that even mean? Like,
Yeah.
like you have to not. It's not like you get to a level and then it's locked in. Like you have to continue to like sustain that basically.
Yeah.
And then for
Oh,
me, it's like, oh, like even if I was to win the world championships, like cool, then I have to win the next one as well. It's just an
what
impossible
was
task.
what was popping up for me when you were sharing that? I was like, oh, that's got to be a tough day at the office. If you're like a UFC fighter, title winner, and then you're just on that decline,
Oh, bro.
but you're still holding on to the construct of maybe that is strength,
That's
or
the thing
that is power,
that
or
makes you
that
who you
is what
are.
makes me good enough,
Yeah.
and then you just slowly lose that. That's
Yeah,
that's
the
not
tough the
ideal.
tough thing about that is it's not just a tough day at the office, it's a tough few years at the office. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's going to
yeah,
take a long time for you to accept that. That's why you have those people that have kind of like they haven't even peaked. Like that's the funny part. Like they haven't even peaked. It's just they think they've peaked because now they're in a different phase of life and they're just a bit miserable.
yeah,
Like that's how you stop this, by the way. I guess how we can sum this up is it's almost like the thing that's holding you back and that's hijacking more mature ways of thinking is an ego want. Like I want to be special, or I want to be seen as intelligent. I want to be
yeah,
validated, right? And we're saying there's nothing wrong with that. Like ego wants are perfectly natural and they're integrated, right?
yeah,
Don't let the word ego scare you because people have been misusing it for, I don't know, how many years? Like the past couple of
a
decades.
while.
Yeah, for a
Yeah,
while, basically. Like that is a beautiful thing to want. It just doesn't have to come at the expense of you or anyone else. And there's
yeah,
ways, because ego wants are inherently, like when we have ego wants in a child's development, that's like the first thing that we develop. Like a toddler, you can kind of think of it. Um, because it's from that kind of worldview, you can't think strategically in an ego want. So whatever the thing is that you first adopted to get that thing is usually the thing that's just sticking around. Not because it's evil
yeah,
or not because it's self-sabotaging or not because it's any of that kind of stuff. It's because that's just the thing that remained. But as soon as you can bring the rest of your consciousness there and validate that ego want, which is what we've been talking about, compassion, healing, not healing the ego want, but healing maybe the shadows attached with that, the execution of
yeah,
getting that ego. And then we're like, yeah, we want that, but we can do this and this and this, and we can actually make it much stronger and more fulfilling and actually get that thing in a much easier way. That's where
yeah.
the liberation comes from.
It's almost like developing constructs or removing old ones that make the ego one always in craving or hunger instead of being fully satiated.
Yeah.
Because when it's fully satiated, it's just like, oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
I am strong or I am special. And actually, you know what? Everyone else is too.
Yeah.
And that doesn't take away from my one either.
No, not at all.
I can appreciate that in them. And it's like a satiation of,
Yeah,
instead of a real craving.
that's right. And the monks were satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words.
That's right.
Yeah.
That'd be a great ending.
Yeah. Cameron is the Blessed One. Does that
I
satiate
wish.
your ego one or being special?
Yeah, but I'm just worried people won't understand how special that is. So,
Yeah, that's the nichest of nichest jokes.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, do you have anything else coming up for you around that?
I think that's a beautiful. Yeah, I think that feels satiated on my end, but I'm curious if you have anything.
No, I'm just saying if you're watching through my channel, please, I can't recommend Cameron enough. Please reach out to him if you feel like you like his personality, you want to see what some of his breakthroughs are like from what he's talked about here, or even just any questions that he has or that you have. Maybe he'll have an email or an Instagram that you can reach out and you can have a back and forth. I'm linking all of his stuff below. As for the people that are already here and you haven't, if you guys are interested about doing this work on yourself, then I have my free shadow work guide, the most practical guide to shadow work on the internet. It's 3 hours long. It's done with a couple of my one-on-one clients. It's a live stream. They're asking me questions, so it's a bit more engaging. Also, I don't leave any stone unturned about how to actually do real practical shadow work on you from the core wound level, so you're getting transformational change rather than incremental change. Just sign up your email and it's be sent over to you. It's completely free. Yeah, that's all from my end.
Yeah, wonderful. So all I'd say is if you feel like you want to take this further, first of all, I'm going to link Aaron's channel in my description and should be in the top comment too.
Mhm.
So if you feel like you resonate with him, go reach out to him, go to his channel. And you can either just check out his content or message him directly. And then if you do feel like you resonate with me, then I'd highly recommend you reaching out to me either through Instagram or I also have my email linked to YouTube here.
Perfect. See you guys in the next one.